Are you on a forklift?
Yeah, yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a
Hey.
tutti.
Ciao Juventini, welcome back to the AJC. Obviously, we're going to preview Juventus and Milan, all right, getting ready for the game. The season is winding down. I know that it's been a rough one, a rocky one, and an emotional roller coaster for us, but there's still some to play for, and we're going to talk about all that. Obviously, we know what we're expecting from UEFA and whatnot, but there is some to play for, and I'd like to see the team fight until the end and take those matters into our own hands. I got Luca with me today. Luca, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Bert. Doing good.
Right on, right on. Look at Anthony's pumped to see you. Look. Holy shit, it's Luca. Let's go. Let's rock. Let's
I'll have to
rock.
fight
Ciao,
with him in the
Anthony. Ciao, Apex jumping in here. And yeah, we're getting ready. We got some news. We got some news to tackle. Never a dull moment surrounding Juventus. And we'll tackle it all, then get into the preview for this game, some of the news tying into it and whatnot. So, yeah, we'll get into it. First off, I do want to say, don't usually we spend a little bit of time just getting some housekeeping out of the way. I want to change the housekeeping for today. So we have a friend, a longtime supporter of the channel. Okay, his Twitter handle's at Adiyat. His name is Farhan. He has been on the show a couple times way back when I had first started and whatnot, and he has got some bad news in regards to his health. And we started a GoFundMe and posted it on our socials yesterday. I was absolutely taken back by the amount of support the community came together for. It just shows you how incredible not only the AJC army is, but just the Juventus community in general on social media, as we were able to smash the target I'd put out there, which was $1,000. He is essentially short $3,000 to $4,000 for the treatments that it is going to require for this rare disease that he has contracted, and we were able to smash the 1K goal within a matter of 6 hours. I've actually increased it to 2,000 just to see if we could at least try to chip in half of what it's going to take for our friend, and I'm happy to say we're almost at the second target. The link for that GoFundMe can be found on our social media. It is on an Instagram story, but Twitter is where the original post. If you want the link after this live is recorded, I am going to post it as a comment in this video, all right? But I just want to say massive thank you, not just to all of you and the donate, but also friends of the AJC like uvfc.com by retweeting, Maurizio from around Turin, Bianco Neri Zone and Alejandro there, all amazing that they helped out as much as they could, and even just spreading the word. So big applause to the community and all of you. That's great stuff. And it's nice when we can all come together and do something like that. So opinions and all that and feelings. We battle each other so much throughout the season on opinions and everything. It's beautiful when we come together and do something like that. Okay, so now let's get to football. Okay, let's get to football. Ellie, Chiesa will start. On the projected lineup, I saw he is slated to start, but I'm also keeping tabs to see if we are going to get something from somebody a little bit, more credible. And I haven't seen that just yet, which is funny because usually you'll get your projections, you'll get one couple days in advance by someone lighter, and then the day before you'll get some of the bigger guys coming in with theirs. I haven't seen anything on a projected lineup for Milan other than this one, which I will share. But I do see Chiesa starting. Is Vlahovic injured? He is being reported as having a muscular problem and going to be out. Okay, that's what we're getting. What formation would we like to see? Anthony says he'd like to see a 3-4-3. Well, maybe we'll get to the news after because everybody wants to get right into this game and whatnot. Also, no Rafael Leao apparently, according to Ellie here. So, Luca, let's get into this game here. With Milan, obviously targeting Champions League qualification, they were the team that benefited the most after the 10 points was taken from Juve. Now, obviously, occupying that last spot. The last spot. This game, obviously, implications with that. Juve would have to win out, and we would require some help from our friends at Hellas Verona. Okay, so maybe it's written in the stars for Juve to get that help, but we know what's going on with Milan. They're essentially healthy. Obviously, we know Leao might have some kept out there. I do see a projected lineup, one of them with him in there, but I don't know the full details. I haven't looked on Milan's side so much. I've been focusing on Juve's. But Benasser and Ibrahimovic essentially absent. There are reports that Kair's going to come into the back line for them. 4-2-3-1's expected. Maignan, Calabria, Kair, Tomori, Hernandez, Tonali, Krunic, Messias, Diaz. It did have Leao and Giroud, but I'm hearing Leao's obviously not going to be in there, so some changes there. For us, the lineup I did see, and nothing's happened or changed with injuries other than Vlahovic being added to a list. Bonucci recalled and Chiesa starting. The lineup I have is Szczesny, Gatti, Bremer, Danilo, Cuadrado, Miretti, Paredes, Rabiot, Kostic, Chiesa, and Milik. That's what I have going on there for Juventus. So going back to Anthony's question there in terms of lineups, formations, and whatnot, I expect the exact same. That 3-5-1-1 would just shift it up to a 3-4-3. That would mean a change in the midfield there with Miretti, Paredes, and Rabiot. Unless you're looking to play Miretti right behind your... or not even necessarily right behind, but I would maybe make it like a 3-4-2-1 with Miretti and Chiesa, and they can kind of work the sides behind Milik and whatnot. But what are your thoughts on the projected lineup for Juventus? What are your thoughts on going into this game?
I'll be very frank. I forgot there was a game this weekend, Bert. With everything going on, it's like, oh, Juventus still has games to play. Just end the torture already. I mean, and it's a big game. It's not like we're playing Empoli again or something. It's a Juve Milan game, which is always interesting to watch and to really just appreciate. But with our recent form and everything going on behind off the field, I don't know. I don't even care about the starting lineup anymore because even if we have our best 11 out there, whatever you think that is, I always feel like there's something missing, especially very recently. So, I mean, I don't even care who's starting. We could sit here and nitpick all day. And yeah, for the sake of discussion purposes, I'd prefer to see a more attacking lineup than a 3-5-2, a 3-4-3, or a 4-3-3, whatever it is. At this point, just go and get it. Because again, what do we have to lose? Everyone's saying, "Oh, we need to win these last games." No, we need to win these last games, and we need other teams to lose, and we also need Jesus Christ to save us from the absolute shit show that we're going to get hit with this summer. So I don't know. I don't have much input on the lineup. Just go get the win, guys. Or at least try to get the win. Show up at least. Put some heart into the game. That's all I asked today, really.
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of, let's get after it. I just want to see them put out a good show. I was even saying the same thing against Empoli. I want to see just a strong finish to the season at least, and some type of positivity going out for it. I would really like now for this team to get the job done required of them, okay? Whatever's going to happen in the cases, UEFA's penalties and whatnot, leave that, but force their hands. So force their hands by getting the job done against Milan, getting the job done against Udinese, whether we get the help from Hellas Verona to get into a 4 spot or not, okay? Even if we get into the Europa League place or whatnot, force their hand. Force UEFA's hand. That's what I need to go down, okay? So force their hand, and like I said, we're still waiting for the reasoning on the 10 points. When that reasoning comes in, Juve has another 30 days, okay? Juve will have another 30 days to essentially appeal that. And while that appeal takes place, and this is how much of a shit show this thing is, while that appeal is taking place, Juve gets their points back. So to force UEFA's hands is going to be amazing if we can do that just based on play, but there's still so much left in terms of the cases and the appeals and everything, and it's an absolute gong show. We know how we all feel about how it's been handled since the get-go and whatnot, but for the sake of, and this season whatnot, it would be nice for us to see the team fire away and go out swinging and get the job done, at least in a matter of the last 2 matches. The reality and the fear and the concerns, and I said this going into Empoli, not that I expected it, but I said that that possibility was very much there, that Juve could just totally crumble because of everything they've gone through this season and the chips getting stacked against them, and it just essentially ending in that manner. And it could easily carry on for this game and even Udinese. I totally hope that is not the case, but you could see how easy that could come about, right, Luca?
100%.
We saw it against Empoli.
Exactly. Like, I mean, again, I think it was middle of the week, and we were building up all the news coming up to this game. And again, not only did I forget there was a game, but at the same time, I'm thinking, oh, okay, maybe we can go into this Milan game with something. And it's something in the back of my head said, but you lost how much to Empoli? Like, it's just such a kick to the nads, and you're thinking, like, if we can't even beat them, how are we gonna do this week? Like, the guys really need a rude awakening, and I honestly hope that they all just got slapped this morning by either their significant other or by Max himself. But I don't know. There's really so much to hope for, but so little to expect, if that makes sense. Like, I know this is still Juventus, and I've said it for how many years or seasons now on this podcast that winning is the only option when you're this club. A draw or a loss is not acceptable. But at this stage right now, I'm so numbed to the season, to the feeling of losing, and even if it's a draw, like I'm so numb to it now. Just show up, guys. Like, even if I at this point, even if you lose or you draw, show up, play a game, play with your hearts out. That's all I ask.
Oh, this is funny. You
Yes,
mentioned
agreed.
the slaps. Max needed a slap too. I wish Max would have gotten slapped by someone to Pacha no scafo. Come on, no scafo la
He's
pacha.
got no one at home to do it.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I mean, yeah, there's so much smoke around this team right now, and just if you're looking at it again, hard to get truly jacked up at this point. We want the team to finish strong, get the job done and whatnot, but at the same time, like, you've got so many players that are essentially getting ready to go. We know Paredes is going to go, Di Maria is going to go, Rabiot's going to go, Vlahovic's future is in question, but he's not in the lineup today, but his future is in question.
Yeah.
There were I've only seen one guy come out with the feelings of Chiesa, and that was Del Monte, obviously, and saying that a source that is very close to Chiesa said that he was even disgruntled. And when Bonucci was the one apparently that leaked that there is a lot of unhappiness in the locker room at Juve. you've got all this stuff going on, and you factor in the cases, the fact that, the 10 points, while I didn't give them the excuse, and I will not accept that as an excuse against the Empoli match, the 10 points, because we all knew it was coming, it's still like that final kick in the junk, like, oh my God, just get us over. If the fans are feeling like I could see in the chat, and there are quite a few, just get this season over with. You got to think the ones directly involved that have been taking the heat on social media from fans that have been, you know what I mean? Like in the midst of it all season are probably feeling the same way. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Like
I mean, I
this is
would.
this is a tough spot for Max to try and motivate this group now to these last few games. This is going to be extremely difficult for him to be able to achieve that and get this team into that mode, into that zone, going into these final two matches. Nonetheless, hey, this is if you had a sporting director and a management team assembled that could sit the group down, they would have a better shot at getting something like that achieved by simply coming into the room and saying, look, or even going out into a presser and saying, every single person at Juventus is being evaluated going into these final two matches, like, period. Nothing is set. No places, no positions are set going into next season. We're looking at everything. Even if certain guys are untouchable, you still send that message. And you hope that the guys that are going to be around and want to be around pick it up for some of those questionables, because I know that some of the theory out there is these guys are professionals. They're going to fight through, they're not going to, if they go out there, they're going to do their best one up, but it's really easy to quit. And we saw that against Empoli almost as soon as they conceded. Okay. And by the second one, they were absolutely dead. What do you think? Do you think a management team would have had a better shot at doing that? Do you like what these guys like Elkin and whatnot are doing? I think that maybe there hasn't been enough from there. And this is where I feel from Max, because he's had to face the brunt of everything, being literally the only guy there. What do you think, Luca?
I mean, I think this is a situation that I don't think anybody's ever gone through. Like, how does one navigate these waters? Like, if you're the management team, if you're Elkin, you're looking down at this and you're thinking, I had to wipe out. Well, my entire board had to resign because they're all facing criminal charges. I had to basically put the janitor in charge and Max. Like, I think there could have been more done probably, but it's such an unprecedented situation that like I don't know what more could have been done personally. I don't know the inner workings of this company or this corporation enough to say this should have been done. I'm not going to sit here and do that. That's not my position. But to answer your question, I think, yeah, no, Max had a lot on his shoulders. And I think when you are Max Allegri and you are being paid this much and you are this much experience and you have all this going for you, like, yeah, I expect that he'd be able to shoulder a lot of that. And he did. I'll give him that 10 out of 10 times, I'll give him that. He shouldered a lot of the responsibility this season. We know that. But when it came to shouldering the responsibility on the field, he definitely did not do that. And without diving too much into it, I think, again, just to summarize, I think he could have gotten more help, but in the end, he didn't. And he did a pretty good job handling it. But, would someone else have done better? Would someone else done worse? Those are discussions that, we could continue having and we'll never really know. But at this moment, looking back, I think he did a pretty good job considering he literally had no one to help him. But I think he also could have done a better job performance-wise. So, take that as a grain of salt.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a tough spot for us to
100%.
watch this team be in right now, not having that management set. We have questions coming in the live chat now that are playing part to some of the options and whatnot. And obviously, we have Giuntoli and whatnot, okay? And James coming in here with, do we wait for Giuntoli or we grab Salihamidzic? So We're going to get back to Juve and Milan when it comes down to prediction time and taking on the prediction challenge and whatnot. But we're going to step aside and start looking at this now, which is huge for Juventus. And we could see it now, trying to talk about like even motivating this team, whatnot. Like these guys, they know the board and all that's assembled is all legal and numbers guys, accounting. Like there's nobody there. It's essentially just Max. And this is a dangerous, dangerous spot for Juve to be in when you're getting closer to season's end and you need to start making some moves, okay? And trying to prepare yourself. Now, Giuntoli or Salihamidzic. I said this yesterday. The second I saw that Bayern was going to cut Khan and Salihamidzic loose, I would take Salihamidzic in a heartbeat as a director at Juventus. I get that there's concerns there around him and whatnot, and some of it are budget related. I just want to let this be out there that Juve has spent more money than Bayern since 2019. And actually probably longer, but I stopped looking at 2019 because I was shocked. So Juve has actually spent more money. So when we want to talk budgets and whatnot, the guy finds value. The guy is also a beauty of a scout, Salihamidzic. Salihamidzic is responsible for Alphonso Davies going to Bayern. He's done some really, really good stuff. Has he maybe lost it a bit now going into the season? I don't really necessarily know. That team's still strong. Maybe some of the pickups you can argue didn't quite make sense, but I see a lot of good there. The thing with Giuntoli is, and now obviously I had the daily update video yesterday, that ADL is going to be waiting, right? So, and why wouldn't he? Why would you directly help Juventus in freeing up Giuntoli a season ahead? Especially when you see the turmoil this club's in right now. We don't need to hear it from insiders or hear it from them that any top club in Italy or any club that has an opportunity to hurt Juve will hurt Juve. He doesn't have to release Giuntoli. Okay? And even people are saying, well, Giuntoli could just walk. He is contracted. Oh, but they'll just pay a fund or whatever. ADL literally doesn't have to accept that. He doesn't even have to accept the funds to pay a penalty. He could just say, no, he's under contract with us. And he would have to sit out a year, even if Giuntoli tries to walk or do anything. Like, the power is in ADL's hands. He also needs to find somebody. So if he doesn't find somebody in that time, I don't see himself rushing himself to get a sporting director in there. Like, he's probably going to take his time. And the fact that him dragging his ass on it hurts Juve in the sense that we want Giuntoli and he's our top guy. Calvo wants Giuntoli. Why would he do that? But Salihamidzic, I would do it. What are your thoughts, Luca?
I mean, I don't think there's a bad option here. I think both would be, I'd welcome both with open arms. Obviously, both have had recent success. But I think you're pointing out what's very obvious here. You know, like why would ADL let like his star? Why would he let one of his key men just go and help his rival? You know, like how many times have we seen our club or rival clubs do moves in the transfer market just to spite each other? I just don't see it happening. And even when it was rumored before, like all that's left is for ADL, let him go. I didn't see it happening. Like it was too good to be true, and it was too quick. There was no drama behind it. This is Napoli and Juventus. These are teams that for the last 10 years have just been banging heads, even longer than that. But I mean, I never saw that happening personally. So now seeing Bayern really wiping out their management team, I didn't know. I'd never dive really much into himself as a sporting director, if that's his role, right? He was the SD there.
Yeah.
Okay. I never really, micro went and look at everything he did. I never had the time to do that. But you just look at what Bayern has done in the last how many years that he's been there. it's impressive. They're still one of the top, easily top six teams in Europe consistently. They have them some up and down years, but if you look at what they spend, what they bring in, and just the books, like it's just a well-run club. And I've always been envious of that. I've said it so many times. Look at what Bayern's doing. Like they get so much talent from their youth system as well, which we're now starting to do. So, I mean, they really are what many clubs should be looking at. And rather than Juventus trying to be the next Real Madrid like we did a few years ago, we should really be looking to be, some more similar to Bayern. So if he's available, I'm all for it. Simple as that.
So, and you have a lot. This is quite a split here on Hassan. No to Hassan, an immediate no, whatnot. But there are, I would have to say, based on what I was gauging on Twitter yesterday, it's maybe like 55 to 60% for Hassan and 40% against. But if we're looking for Bayern, and this is the thing, a lot of people say, don't forget that Bayern gets help from around the league. And they are able to pick up players, and teams essentially, are bending over for these deals and whatever for Bayern. But here's my thing. In Italy, Juve needs to start being assholes. They need to start doing that, essentially. They really, really do. Once we get our shit together and we form a team and they start making moves, if the clubs in Italy start to push with their prices and their fees, and we have to spend too much on these guys, walk away. Juve needs to stop continually going after that guy and say, you know what, we're just walking. And go and find the next guy. And the couple times that you do that, do you think that the clubs that are doing that in Italy can afford to and would rather miss out on the deal completely as opposed to getting what they could? If Juve just said, you know what, fuck it, we're out, and start going, and a couple times that you do that, you start out, and not only that, Juve needs to start being the assholes in pushing the player's will. And if the player's will comes into effect and that starts to be a detriment to these clubs, because you can't have guys doing that all of a sudden because, hey, word gets around and then you know what? We don't want a part of that. And I don't want to end up getting stuck because you guys are going to ask too much or whatever. Like, Juve needs to start pushing back. Not just accepting and be like, yeah, this is what it is. We have to pay this, whatever. No. You know what? We're going to walk. And if it has to start being finding talent outside and whatnot, then it is what it is. But they have to start fighting back against that, because I really, really question how many of these teams we're dealing with would actually not take a deal rather than just take a bit of a hit and drop price a bit. I've always thought that, But in terms of ADL, Dells has a theory saying ADL wouldn't do that to Giuntoli. It looks bad for the future sporting director. How many times have we seen people leave on bad terms out of Napoli? A lot. It's ADL, man. Come on. I wouldn't put it past it, regardless of the relationship and everything going into now. And let's just say that these guys, there's big guys, Romeo, Mirko, whatnot, that have said they've had sit-downs. Look at what happened with Spalletti, for Christ's sake, and ADL. In a matter of a week from being announced champions. Are we really putting this one past ADL? Because I wouldn't. But, hey, we'll see what happens. And of course, you have, I don't think Brazzo manages to do in Italy what he managed to do in a German Farmers League. Hey, fair enough. There's going to be concerns. But here's the other kicker. Juve, this is what I'm getting from, my sources. Juve wants to act quickly. Juve doesn't want to wait too long after the Udinese match to actually name a team and start the ball rolling. We can't sit around and wait.
We can't.
And
we have stuff to
bet
do, guys.
your ass ADL is going to drag that thing out. We can't wait until August, September, October. He's going to drag this out. He's going to play us. He's going to play us like we're on the end of a leash. Fuck that.
Daniel would know.
And right now, if you're looking at these other options, I think Salihamidzic is up there. Like, who else are we... If it's between... And I'll ask this to the live chat. If it's between internal promotion of Mana or Salihamidzic, who would you take if those were your two options? Because Giuntoli's taken too long and we aren't sure, and ADL might be playing us. Who would you take out of that? For me, it's Salihamidzic. Luca agrees?
No, I agree.
And why would you go that route rather than Mana?
I mean, I think we just need a different. I think we need a different perspective. I think the internal team, the guys we have, we're always just recycling the same ideas, and that we need that wiped. We need something different. It hasn't been working. Forget 1 season, 2 seasons. It's a handful of seasons going back to like 2018, 2019. The minute Marotta left, things started getting ugly. So just fresh ideas, that you've been saying it for months now, and I've been behind you for it. So yeah, I'd rather say that we tried something fresh, whether that's for our new manager or our new SD, whatever it is, start with a new idea. I don't like this whole recycling idea, we can't keep going back to the ex-girlfriend, I'm thinking too much into our coach situation right now, but it's similar with our SD. Like, stop, if I start hearing we're going to go back for Marotta now, like, stop,
Yeah, I think it's time to get some fresh. Everybody seems to be on the same page now when it comes down to internal promotion or outside, and that's where we stand. But obviously, and I will agree, and I believe Luca will as well, if it was as easy for Giuntoli, obviously he's going to be the top. It would be Giuntoli because of having worked in Serie A directly, the connections with clubs, the network. It would be him over Barazzo. But I'm saying, as an option standalone, if the Giuntoli thing plays out the way I think it's going to, yeah, that would be all right for Juve. Now, we have to wait and see. Now, the source tracker, because we still getting some comments, and, there's some doubts on the source and whatnot. I said this from the get-go. We're going to go over this together. We're going to see how good this source is because it's new to us here at the AJC. And, hey, that's just a nice little feather in the cap for years of hard work. Started in 2018, getting up there, getting connections, getting a bigger network. It's great. Lafont, the source, baby. So, number one, month and a half to 2 months before Romeo Gresti joined us on our show last, and in the green room says, "Hey, I got something for you." And I was like, "Oh, cool. What do you got?" He's like, "Juve's going to be in the States this summer." And I was like, "Nice." We said that on the show 4 weeks before that moment. So, source was right about that. Our source said he felt slim chances that Allegri would be behind the bench because Juve was looking or whatever and kicking tires. None of the bigger guys came out and started getting that until as of 2 weeks ago? And I dropped that Alberto bomb. I don't know how long. We'll have to check Rex, but hey, he's been pretty good so far. And the last one is that shortly after Udinese, Juve wants to act quickly. And do not be surprised if there are some announcements made very, very shortly after. So let's see what happens. In terms of other news, Szczesny. This one's got to be something we're all for, right? Especially, and this is the big one, if we're staring down the barrel of a season with only Serie A and Coppa Italia, try to make a move and sell Szczesny in his final contract year.
Yep.
Clean up the salary. He's one of the highest paid on the team. Yep. You still have Perin for next season and the season beyond. And then you bring in one of your Vicario or Carnesecchi. I believe the majority are for Carnesecchi. I find myself every time I watch one of those guys, I find myself flipping back and forth. And Vicario, I've seen him play out of his mind. And then I've seen him absolutely shit the bed. Carnesecchi, I feel, is a little bit steadier, but maybe doesn't have those highs. But you got to make a move for Tech if you can. And the fact that we would not be in Champions League, because I totally believe UEFA's coming in. I don't expect any European play next season. This might be the one thing that actually makes Tech agree to moving away, because he said the whole time he wants to stay at Juventus, but maybe, just maybe, this could be that time, and Juve is going to need some sales. But maybe Tech just denies it or whatnot. But I think we're all on the same page. And looking at the live chat, Luca, this would be a movie that would make sense.
No brainer. I tweeted it the other day when there was our news that came out about him. It's a no-brainer, and it's nothing. And I want this to be very clear, because Skanga is going to come in and start crying. This is nothing against Tech. Chesney has been an absolutely, pivotal, I think, goalkeeper for us. And for his ups and downs, we have to really appreciate what he's done coming in after Buffon and doing what he did. So props where he deserves it. I'm not gonna, put him in the shit-stained world of Juventus. He's really not. He's done much more good than he's done bad. But when you're in this situation, I think even he would understand. It's nothing personal. It really just becomes business. High salary. He's still got high value, and we have an easy substitute ready to go. So, yeah, absolutely no hesitation on that if we could.
Yeah.
Oh.
And here's Mr. Skanga himself saying even I'd sell Tech, and that's saying a lot. Because, they're brothers. So for him to want to sell his own brother, amazing.
What about
amazing?
Bruno?
Ant is on board. There you go. Now you got to make it. But yeah, he's right. Salary too high if no European football. Got to make the move. I want to get into this comment, and I'm excited to hear the live chat talk about this too in comments. And Luca, your immediate gut reaction. I know my immediate gut reaction when I heard this. So obviously, we posted it on the AJC for the news that Juve could look at making this potential move. And one of the comments, Tech as replacement for Gigi was a huge mistake. So that was what was put immediately on, and so the reaction from Luca kind of says it all. Let's get into this, and I'm curious to hear the reactions on the live. Luca, getting Tech in behind Gigi was a big mistake. Was it a big mistake? Your gut reaction is kind of the same as mine. I'd have to say immediately no. But let's go through this.
Let's go through it. Hindsight 2020. Let's go back. Let's just say it how it is. Buffon is, and arguably, in my book, the greatest of all time in that position. That's my argument. I've watched him play live. There's going to be arguments for older guys. That's fine. Arguably, for me, the best of all time. So for someone to say that anybody after him would be a downgrade, obviously, that's a common knowledge. But I think Szczesny coming and doing what he did after someone like Buffon, it really is just something you have to respect and appreciate, because not many could have. And I say that and I'm not saying I'm anti Szczesny, but I'm saying that very supportingly of him. He did a great job. I don't know who the hell comes in and says, "Oh, it was a big mistake." Who would you have gotten? Please tell me. Please,
Tech cost us 18 million euros in 2017. 18 when we picked him up, okay? So July 19th, 2017, picked him up for 18 million euros. Man, over the years, he's had, some moments here and there, little lips, but for the most part, a solid keeper. Solid keeper.
Yeah.
And again, the Pirlo season, I think, affected the rep a lot with the fan
Yeah.
base because of Pirlo consistently going to Buffon. And to be honest, Buffon was still a freak show during that season. But that is
Yeah.
not a discredit to Tech.
That's
But
just
that is just yet again playing up to the legend that is Gianluigi Buffon.
there we go.
Like,
Yeah.
Buffon is just an abs. What are we talking about? This guy could potentially come up with Panma, and I don't know where that sits and whatnot, but literally
Yeah.
helping lead them back up at what is he now? 42?
Still
43?
going.
Like, I don't know.
He might be in Serie A
That
next
is
year.
more about him. But to be honest, to say it was a mistake, I don't think you could say that. Tech is now 33. He's still, if you're looking at us, he's still a number one keeper. Perin is also a number one keeper. Yeah.
Like the only thing we could really, and this is where maybe now looking at it, I think Chesney's wages are a bit up there. I mean, yeah, he is arguably again maybe top three goalkeepers in Serie A in the last couple of years, depending who you ask. But outside his wages, it's not like he's performed, in a bad way. At no point at any end of the season were we saying, "Oh, get rid of him, he's useless." No, he's been useful, and if he was useless, we'd be getting rid of him. But I think just that price we got him was a bargain. It was just that the salary was obviously for a goalkeeper
Yeah.
rather high. Like he's I think third top paid in the team right now, or tied for second.
Yeah,
I know
but I
he's on
can't
8
say
mil.
that he's honestly,
No,
yeah,
and
just
again,
not in the
it
comparison to Buffon,
yeah,
he
it's
will
just
lose. And Gigi's
yeah,
45. My God.
but
You know, like
uh,
Gigi's a freak. If we
yeah,
compare, if we spend the rest of our days comparing keepers we have to Buffon, we will never match. You'll
never,
never match out.
absolutely never.
For me, he's one in a lifetime. One in a lifetime.
Yep.
Guys, Gigi, okay? So I can't get the knock on Tech because of the comparison there, but I think Tech has done very well over his time. That comment just shocked me there. Now, Eli, just to clarify there, yes, it is reported that if Juventus appeals, which is expected, the latest point penalty, the points again come back until everything is essentially resolved again. Now, the thing is, the kicker is that it is expected that Juve is going to have their next appeal immediately rejected, in which case those points would not be returning. But Juve still has an option to go to TAR, and that is the highest dealing and source. So we have to wait on that, okay? So a lot to kind of process still, all right? And I never thought there'd be a day where you needed to know a lot of legal matter and, jargon to be able to support a club. But that's kind of where it's at right now. So the Tech comment, we got into that. That one just really caught me off guard. Okay, it really, really did. It was kind of wild at the time, but I think his whole rep with fans got hurt during the Pirlo season because of how big Buffon was during that season. Pirlo kept going to him.
It's as you said. It's a compliment to Gigi. It really
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's
more
not an
than
insult to
anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Keane for sale. Will listen to all offers for Moise Keane. How do you feel about that one, Luca?
Oh shit. I'm not going to discredit what Moise has done for us this season. He's been, and especially like when he came back, like in the last couple of games, I actually saw a bright spark in him. So I'll give credit where it's due. He's not been what everyone thinks he is, but he's not what we necessarily need. I look at our three strikers and I see three performing at more or less the same consistency. They all have more or less the same amount of goals. They all have their own, pros and cons. Thing is, I look at Keane and I see that, what is it, 40 million that we just paid for him. I mean, if you could sell him for just as much, it's similar to Chesney. Why not? Right now, we're at a point where like you said, we're staring down the barrel of having no Europe and almost no income. We're gonna lose a lot of money. So if you can make money on Keane, and like whether it's promote from the youth or get a cheaper option from somewhere else in the league, we have to consider it. And it's, again, this is nothing on Keane. I just think if there's value to him, similar to when we sold him to Everton, you got to take it.
Yeah. We're gonna. I might go against the grain on this one. Quick reminder to everybody while you're with us here, please like the video, okay? Drop a like there. It goes a long, long way, all right? Might go against the grain here. I think there's too much going on, and obviously Di Maria going to be heading out. Milik's renewal is not 100% sure and whatnot. Vlahovic's future is uncertain. I don't think I'd move Keane on, to be honest. I don't think I would.
Again, I'm not going to argue otherwise, but I think it's going to depend really, one, what happens with Dusan, and one, what happens with Milik. They're all up in the air right now. None of them are solid in staying. We know that. I mean, it's going to really depend on how the dominoes fall. When we get our SD in, who gets the first offer, it's going to be a question of timing more than anything. And I think opportunity, because, if someone comes in and offers us 150 for Dujan, and we know that Allegri's still staying, then he's gone, and we're keeping Keane. I think that's just going to be a question of timing.
Yeah, because we spent like 7 mil on the loan, and it's another 30 to purchase Keane. Exactly. And we'll get hit with that 30 at the end of this season. That's when it kicks in. He's 23 years old. I think the contract term itself will be to 2025. So 23, 24, 24, 25. Yeah, a couple more seasons there. Yeah,
I'm not against it.
I'm not there yet, just based on how much else can change up top. And I just think with the priorities Juve should be setting in place on this roster, man, like, why give ourselves more work? Like, if you have Vlahovic outgoing, if you're not going to renew Milik, which is not looking like a for sure anymore, Di Maria is going to be leaving, whatnot, and you want to move Keane on, I'm not so sure. And another big reason for it is that I don't think you're going to get an offer that makes sense right now. Why also take a sale that you're going to lose on?
That's another one, right? I said it. I'm stipulating this on if we get a decent offer.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to come in and offer that. And you said it well. With Di Maria leaving, we know now apparently too that Kulusevski's not probably coming back. So
which is good for Juve.
It's good for Juve. That's another argument. But I think now that we have no one really on that right side, we know that Keane can also play on the wing in some situations. We've seen it done. I really think it's going to depend on the coach and what system he does and how he thinks of Keane. Like, he's useful. We know that. He's not useless, and he's not overly expensive. I think his wages are somewhere in the middle of the park. So,
yeah,
I'm fine with keeping him, but it's really
and all over the place on the live chat, which is great. Love to see it. Keane's 22, stays, hopefully grows. He's not a pillar of our team, but he's still a prospect and useful squad player. Dells,
he's grown a lot this year.
Happily move Keane on. We'd be better off with an old head like Caputo instead of him. Okay.
I like Chicho, but no.
Dimitake, Keane better be sold. Hasn't been consistent, at least under Allegri, especially when he's receiving the ball. Needs 2 touches to control it. I just think, again, the priority for Juventus needs to be on the backside of the pitch. Definitely in fullbacks and a center back. You already know that you've got Di Maria leaving. If Vlahovic decides to go too, I'd probably feel a lot better about Keane staying too. If Vlahovic stays and we get coach changes, and depending on the deal, because don't take a loss just for the sake of getting rid of Keane. He's 23 years old. It could shift like that with this guy still. So that's why I'm kind of not in. But it's interesting to see all the different points of view on that one. Asensio listed as an option for Juventus. How do we feel about Asensio? He's been linked with Juve. He's one of those names that keeps creeping up all the time. How do you feel about Asensio, Luca?
Oh, if you would have said this like 3 years ago, I would have put like I would have given up an arm and a leg for him. Like there was a point that prime Madrid where he was just insanely talented and untouchable. He's not the same player anymore, unfortunately. I think he took a pretty bad blow injury wise, and he had to come back from that. But he's still a bright talent. I still think it would be a great option. But unfortunately, with no Europe, I don't see it happening, and I think
Yeah.
he would demand a lot wage wise. So I don't think realistically it's an option. But I would if we could at a decent price. I think I'd do it.
Yeah. If it was a possibility, which I don't believe was for the same reasons you mentioned, with no Champions League, there's going to be teams in on him. You're already hearing about the teams that are poking and prodding around
Yeah.
Asensio to bring him in, and obviously Champions League is going to be a thing. I would have been for it. I like Asensio. I always have liked
Yeah.
Asensio.
Mhm.
If it was an option for us and the salary was right and he would be willing to come in here, I'd be down for that. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening with Asensio.
Not the best one.
Dino, same thing. No Champions League. No. No
But the
Asensio.
rumor is, and this is what's weird. I'm not saying Champions League because he's not interested. I think it's more for the monetary reason. The biggest rumor right now is that I think it's West Ham is offering, or is it Aston Villa, offering like a 5-year contract, and it's high wages. That's why he's interested in there. But I mean,
Well, that's the
we just
thing
can't
is
afford
like
him.
there's going to be teams, and this is another thing with those Prem clubs that's funny is
Yeah.
like, is he going to go for the European play? Is he going to go for the big contract? Like he's
Yeah.
27 years old. I would like to think that he's probably going to go for someone with a little bit of European options there for him and
mean,
whatnot, but who really knows? Dell says
he's
good
really
player.
won
His
everything.
career has tailed off someone, but I'd still take him. Apex saying it would be another Pogba-like signing minus the previous fan affection for him.
Ooh, that's a stretch.
I'm not sure. But yeah, anyways, yeah, Senzio's one of the names out there. I really don't expect much coming in. And then Berardi got dropped again.
Again,
with Juventus.
what else is new?
You have to laugh at that one. Obviously, we know the source, and it's nothing strong. Look, I mean, you could sit here until the cows come home going over names and all this. It starts with the sporting director. We have to get that done first and name an actual management team. We could drive ourselves mental going over the players' things, and these news headlines are starting to become kind of just meaningless because who's going to pull the trigger? Who's going to call these shots? And what was so funny is Cuadrado. What a flip in a matter of 2-3 days, Luca, I believe it was. Renewing, okay, good shot, getting offered a 1 year, and then immediately 2-3 days after, no, everything's on hold, obviously. Why would you be signing contract extensions if your first job right now is to be bringing in a sporting director? Why on earth would they be doing that before him? Now, the only one was Pinsolio.
I'm surprised by that, to be very frank.
I'm not surprised by it.
But not by the extension, by the fact that they did it while we had no SD.
I'm not surprised by that, though. And the
Why, because
reason is
Pinzo?
because it's essentially like your third string key. I could go to Juventus and sign as a third string goalkeeper because it's nothing, man. Well, I'm not a goalkeeper, but
Yeah, take it easy there, but
actually, the last time I played keeper was indoor,
go.
and I had
here we go.
a clean sheet until the
Okay.
last 2 minutes, and everything
gonna
was
go
point
into-
blank. I hate playing keeper in indoor. I hate it.
We're
Hate
gonna
it.
talk about Bert's stats now, guys.
So those
We're gonna
guys
go
gotta
into the
show
Alberta
up.
League.
Luca, you're just jealous because my stat line's incredible.
I am, but let's not go into this rabbit hole, please. We know you could do it. Anyways. Yes, you're right. It's Pinzolio. It's someone you got to wrap up. There's so many reasons that's a good idea to do. I was just surprised that they actually offered an extension. And I mean, yeah, we heard that Sandro's got automatically done, but there was no announcement or anything, was there? Or did I just
Not
miss
that it was automatically done, is that he was going to be getting a 1-year renewal from Juventus and whatnot. But then I was like, well, why are we doing this without a sport? Why would you do this before somebody comes in? It makes no
Right.
sense. And then obviously we hear the exact opposite. It's all shut down. They're waiting. But the Pinsolio one still went through. And for me, that one wasn't a surprise because of the fact it's a third keeper. The role is...
Yeah. It's
whatever.
like the
He's
minimal
been there
thing,
for
right?
so long. He's happy to be third string keeper.
I'm happy to have him.
You've got so much change going on and whatnot. It's like, okay, we can do this one. It's essentially, what does it affect? He makes not much. He's happy to not make much and
1.3?
be there and just whatever, take that third string, play in the final game of the season. It's like, it is what it is. But outside of that, I was starting to get concerned a little bit and shocked that we were hearing they might have some signings, some contract renewals before you get a sporting director in. It'd be like asinine. It's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Like,
Again, if it's someone like Pinzo, no problem because we know what we're getting and we know what we're really looking for. Someone like, Cuadrado. Let's take a minute. Let's think this over, please.
to be honest, the
Yeah,
Alexandro automatic renewal that we've heard about and whatnot. And actually, Aldo, I think, is talking about it in the live chat here. He says, so they haven't announced Alexandro's renewal yet because the lawyers are still trying to find a way out of
I
it.
hope to God.
Look, from the last we've heard from Mirko and even Romeo is that it's actually done. The requirements are there. It's done. Out of those two, I would have rather, if it was in our hands, signed Cuadrado to the 1-year extension out of those two players. Now, with Sandro being automatically renewed, I think this is another reason why you have to keep cleaning house, is because you just, at some point, Juve is not fully committed to a rebuild. Like, we have not. And it's been a lot of patchwork. Like, at some point,
100%.
you're going to have to bite the bullet, because what you're doing is delaying the amount of time it's going to take you to power through it. And these automatic renewals, these were just brutal. And I will remind everybody, some of this shit that we're still trying to clean dates back to Marotta. But Paratici had some good moves, but Jesus Christ, the outside work was just, and some of it didn't make sense based on our requirements or our priorities. When we brought in Kulishevsky so early in that season, signing the deal for 40 mil was like, what? Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of work to do. I hope that we get this management put in place very quickly. Hopefully, immediately after season's end, we start seeing some changes and we get a big shift. Calvo, I had a discussion with someone, and it was crazy to hear how much faith and confidence he has in Calvo, and said Calvo is legit. Calvo is going to be a huge part of this rebirth of Juventus and really spearhead everything. And he just kept talking him up. And I was like, you need to be hired as Calvo's hype guy everywhere he goes, because it was just unbelievable. I was like, man, you're getting me jacked up for this guy. And ultimately right now, it's hard to get that feeling about anybody around here or whatnot. But he goes, no, like, I believe the rumors in terms of him wanting, like, he's the guy apparently that wants Giuntoli at all costs, has to be Giuntoli, get him in here. He's the one that apparently circumnavigated Allegri and whatnot, and this is what's creating havoc around there. He's the one that doesn't want to continue with Max, according to these rumblings, okay? So again, just according to these rumblings, take it with a grain of salt as we do everything, but this guy's putting a lot on Calvo and whatnot, and it's going to be interesting to see what ends up going down. But let's get a sporting director and management team first. I'm waiting, and the last rumor that I had out of the Berto bombs was, in terms of the coach, which was interesting, was Del Piero, and this was the part you were kind of taken back on, is he's not waiting for the cases. He's waiting to see who gets named at certain positions before he accepts or rejects the offer that was put out to him.
Yep.
So that's what I had, and I was like, oh, that is very, very interesting and makes complete sense. And I mean, if you look at Del Piero and how long we had to wait for him, even just to get back into the stadium. But that's when a certain head have not been there anymore. And he has spoken about another head that is thrown into the mix at coming back at Juventus. And, you know, we all have certain feelings about that. And the Conte bomb about him being desperate to get this position. I personally feel, and there's a lot to this, because obviously with all the theories and all the rumblings, again, I'm just sharing with all of you what I've heard. And this came from my source, and this came from directly Conte's wife when he said to me that she said he is desperate to get back into that chair, and he wants it more than anything. And I said, well, the money. And he goes, he's like, you would get the feeling that he's willing to take a cut because he wants it so bad. For me, if I tried to make sense of that, for me, that's ego. That is all ego, and would make sense for Conte, especially after Max Allegri 2.0, for Conte to come back and want that desperately, to be that guy. And if we remember, everybody, going back into time frame, Conte, before he went to Inter, made himself available again, and waited. He waited for us, and we went a different route, and Conte said, that's it, I'm taking this one. And he did everything in his power to come back for the title, which he took from us. Conte wants it. He wants it. Now, not getting into whether we want it or we don't want it or whatever, because I see it's... Conte one's wild to me. It is such a split between fans. And it's such a strong split. Hell yeah. Fuck no. Like that's what it, there's no, okay, I could do it. It's like, it's just a strong yes or a strong no. But the thing with the ADP thing, going back to it, is from the source, ADP would say no if Conte was giving the position. And that's where Luca said, well, I would say no to Conte to get that role in. And that's where we kind of had a little bit of a disagreement. So let's get your thoughts there, Luca.
Look, this goes back to what I said earlier about, just bring in new ideas. For me, there's more of an emotional attachment to someone like ADP than there is Conte. And I'm not to say that I don't like Conte. I do understand all the arguments for him, but looking at all the arguments against it, my biggest one is stop going backwards. We learned that with Max. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we'll bring back the old Juve. I'm not saying Conte can't do it. He probably can. But why are we going to start gambling on this again, on this concept of this idea that we have to go back to our old ways, and the only way to do that is to bring back this old coach? That's not a certainty, and again, neither is getting a new, different coach with different ideas. But I'd rather we start from fresh. And to me, that's what someone like ADP at the helm, looking up from on top and saying, this is the route we should be taking. Do this, rather than just gambling it all on Conte and hoping that, he brings back what we're looking for. And again, that's one, because I want something different. And two, because a year or two down the line, when we're back in Europe, Conte, I'm sorry, is absolutely but useless in Europe. So yeah, that he gets a Serie A back, I'm all excited and happy and, overjoyed. But not only is he going to start asking for ridiculous amounts of players that we probably don't need or can't get, but then he's going to start whining and complaining, and then he's going to end up leaving in bad terms, just like he does everybody everywhere else. And you know what? I don't want that. I'm over it. So the only positive that he brings back is that, that bloodthirsty mentality. If that's all that he's bringing, I don't know. I'm just not sold on it. It's one thing. That's all I see.
But
and yes, it is important. I know that, Bert, but I think there's more.
Here's the thing, though. Here's how I look at it, too, is when he first comes in, he doesn't get into the talent, really. It's all about...
Not right away.
It's all about instilling that belief and his beliefs, that culture, those values. It's all about that at the start. And that's why you get such a huge stimulus from Conte immediately. It doesn't get to the players. usually until after that first season. Sometimes 2, given how talented the roster is. So I don't necessarily know about that one. But overall, with Conte, I've been saying no for a while, and I still stand behind that because, again, it's just we keep going back and expecting those past results, and it hasn't been working out. And another thing for me is, and this is why I've been pushing for the Tudor thing, is I see Tudor as getting Conte without the drama and baggage.
That's well said.
Because Conte does, and maybe this is kind of given it to the question here, what type of argument, is new, fresh ideas, whatnot. It's the fact that you can get a stimulus from somebody that isn't Conte. You don't have to go to him to get that. There are coaches with the same culture, the same values that can instill that type of stimulus. Maybe it's not so like his just stand out so intense. He always gets such a big stimulus. But how much of that is also just coming from the change in setups? I wonder. Because you have these teams that he's gone to, and if you go down the list, none of them used the setup with the 3 at the back until he came in there. And then that setup floods your midfield. It also allows your forwards a lot of space and freedom and whatever when you do it properly. We don't do it properly, okay? But when you do it properly, the biggest thing about what he does versus what we do in ours is how he uses the midfield players and how that affects the forwards. And his vision with the forwards is night and day in what you see versus our system. It's night and day. But you can get that. You can get all of that with, and I think his just stand out because those teams never had done that. And he does that plus the raw mentality and all this and the culture. But you can get that with other coaches. And for me, I believe Tudor is Conte without the drama. Not to the level of Conte yet. But Tudor's got some very, very strong numbers and strong signs of progression through his coaching seasons. If you're looking at going back to Hajduk, if you start looking going up, and even from Udinese to Verona, massive jump. Verona, when he starts getting a stronger roster, well, Marseille had a very strong record. People want to talk about the Champions League and how he did in that group or whatnot. Obviously, Tottenham in there, Frankfurt in there. Okay, but if you look at those games, are coin flip games that easily could have gone the other way, and Marseille would have been through and whatnot. Like, he was in the mix the whole way. If you go back to his team with Verona, nothing really great in terms of roster, whatnot, in all the big games. And this is what I found funny when I was looking at his stats and whatever, and looking at games and going into those games, taking a better look, watching highlights and stuff too. He was right in there with all the big teams that season. Maybe 1 or 2 games got away from them big time, I think. But with all the big teams, he had that Verona right in the mix during that season. And it was almost the opposite. He had this team up, raring to go, and they got it all right against these big teams, and they're right in there in the mix. And he dropped games to teams that they shouldn't have been and whatnot. And it was almost like it was a weird thing to watch. But I think Tudor could bring a lot of the culture and whatnot. And people have to remember, he studied under Conte and specifically watched Conte for a period of time there. Yeah. And a lot of what he does is built off of Conte's, except he changes the concept up a bit in terms of what he does different in the midfield, because his is more of like a 3-4-2-1 rather than your prototypical 3-5-2. But that's how I feel, man. And I still like Tudor coming in as an option for Juve. I think it's a good, strong fit. I really do. But there's a lot that say hell no to Tudor.
It's the same people that are saying yes for Conte, because they're sold on one idea right now.
Conte was a wild split to watch on social media, man. It's good to sit back and just watch. It's a wild split.
like bear with me here. If he didn't go to Inter those 2 seasons, I think that split is much more one-sided of people wanting him back. Because personally, I'm not. It doesn't play in my mind anymore. But knowing that he did do that, like at that time when he was there, it bothered me. Every time we played them and I saw him, it bothered me. Like I know, I know we should be looking forward and everything to the past, but like that to me is a stain that many people probably might not be able to get over.
Yeah. It's everybody's got their own beliefs of who the next guy should be and whatnot. Hey, it's going to be a tough decision for this club to make. And I also want to state this: when I hear about Conte desperately wanting back, I think it plays part in the Giuntoli rumors and whatnot. And it's what I'm kind of focused on because we know how tight Giuntoli and Conte are.
Mm-hmm.
And while we spent quite a bit of time talking about Giuntoli and where it stands and all this, if you're hearing this from Conte's wife and that he's desperate to get back in there, he wants back in there right now and stuff like that, that leads me to believe, because he's going to be in contact with Giuntoli and whatnot, that maybe Giuntoli is actually happening, regardless of the ADL. Like, and I'm starting to kind of put that together. Like, holy shit, maybe, just maybe, this thing is going down, and that's why he is so adamant and desperate to get back in there, because he wants to work with his guy and his boy. Like, it makes me think. It just makes me think, everybody. Yeah. Okay, I'm spitballing.
I think that's fine.
I'm spitballing. Spitball.
Not as reliable as Lafont, but yeah.
Hey, man.
Birdo bombs.
I take what Lafont gives and I stir it up in the old pot and get everything brewing here, okay? We see what happens. But, hey, even in the live chat, this has been probably the show with the most split decisions I think I've ever seen. And that's what makes for the best discussions. I absolutely love it.
What I'm here for.
But we will go. Let's see if let's listen to this question. If you would spread credit for Inter Scudetto, what would it be? 50-50 Conte, Marotta, or differently?
Oh,
that's interesting.
I'm not an Inter fan, so I don't want to answer that.
To be honest, I find it funny that they had to put themselves in financial ruins to do it.
Yeah.
To be honest. So, I mean, is there really that much credit to Marotta considering they went beyond their means to do that?
No, but he made it back. He made it back after just by like 3 sales. Like Lukaku, what's his name? Hakimi. Like they made money back after that. That's wild.
They need another owner. Obviously, they're looking for new ownership too and whatnot. I give Conte a lot of credit though.
Yeah.
A lot of credit.
Yeah. 100%. I think
what he did with Lukaku on its own is like
fucking miracle, yeah,
unbelievable. So I give Conte probably a bit more of the credit for sure. But it's funny when you listen to the question like that because you can't discredit what they did because they went nuts there. But
to me, there's a variance.
This is the best answer to the question. 100% Juve credited for that Scudetto. Another one
fourth that year.
We got there. Oh, man. Dom, DeFazio, I like both Tudor and Conte. Conte is a more proven name, but he won't be there long term. Tudor is riskier, but I could see him staying as long as we want him to stay. It's not an easy pick. It isn't at all. Even if you throw in outside options, Conceição now getting his name in the mix. Luis Enrique, if an option, I like that option, to be honest.
I don't see it happening. I don't know. I like it. I don't see it happening at all.
Yeah.
It's very unrealistic.
Now, amidst all of this, we completely got away from Juve Milan, but I told you we'd be back to it. Key stats.
Come back to it.
Key stats, Juve Milan. Okay. Juventus are undefeated in 12 of their last 13 home matches against Milan in all competitions. I'm trying to get you guys jacked up, feel confident.
Yeah, he's trying, guys.
Juve have seen under 2.5 goals in their last 3 matches against Milan in all competitions. Milan are unbeaten in their last 4 matches against Juventus, so not suffered defeat in the last 4. And AC Milan have won just 1 out of their last 9 away matches across all competitions. So now it comes time to put the money where the mouth is, buddy. Prediction challenge. Final score. And then we need 2 tiebreakers. I will remind everybody, we've gotten rid of all the stipulations, okay? Because enough's enough. No more clean sheets. No more goals totaled, okay? Juve just has to win today, and we're going to give away a brand new 23-24 home kit, okay? That's all they got to do.
That's all we got to do is win, guys.
That's all they got to do,
damn game.
okay? That's all they got to do. So, no more stipulations, and a lucky subscriber will get there. Is there going to be a watch-along? It's in the talks. Stay tuned. I think it's going to happen.
Contract's not signed yet. Yeah, give it a minute.
I think it's going to happen. I think there will be a live watch-along. Now,
got to check with the secretary.
Luca, final score and 2 tiebreakers, please.
Oh, no one's going to like me today, Bert. Ah, shit. I say 2-1 for Milan.
2-1 Milan.
Tiebreakers could be anything, correct?
Yes.
I say 5 yellow cards total.
Okay.
And and I say a Rebic goal.
Rebic.
Like he just always scores against us. I don't know. That's something I would bet on.
Lester likes the it's in the talks. Hey, we all know what that's about when you're married with kids. Oh yeah, it's in the talks. It's in the talks.
He's got to get approval from his secretary, is what he's saying.
Yeah. Secretary's more the boss, but tries a 2-1 Juve. Michael Lloyd, Juve 2, Milan 1, and Aldo coming in 2-1. Locatelli and Kostic. Paredes, I think, set to start 1-0. Bremer. Okay. I think we are going to see a 2-2 draw. I think we're going to get a 2-2 draw today, everybody. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Juve comes out here, gives us a strong showing, gets the job done, fights for every last inch, and forces UEFA's hands, but I think we're heading to a 2-2 draw. We've got Dells coming in here, 3-1 Milan with Bremer scoring a header for Juventus, 3-1 Juve, 3-1 Paredes, Di Maria, and Rabiot.
The 3 guys leaving.
2-1 Juve. Everybody leaving bags the goals for Jace there. I like it. I'm going 2-2, everybody. I think it's going to be a draw. I think we get... There's definitely going to be a PK in this game. Okay? So I'll say there will be a PK.
That's a good one.
So 2-2. We'll see a PK, and I like the Bremer shout for a goal. I think Bremer bags 1 goal for Juve. So I'm going to say Bremer gets 1 of our goals. That's going to be it. Let's see what goes down. And again, watch along in the talk. So stay tuned. We'll see. I'll post a comment on YouTube. We'll post it on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, social media. See what happens. Hopefully, either way, we get a strong showing from the lads, okay? Everybody, take a second, like the video, okay? All helps the channel. Don't forget, there's a new kit on the line today. All Juve has to do is win. And if we don't get the job done today, and if my prediction comes true, it's a draw, we have 1 game remaining. And all they have to do is show up, and then we'll give away a kit, okay? So the Udinese game, the stipulations are gone. It just comes down to if Juventus shows up, we will give away a new kit, okay? So that's what it's literally come down to. Hopefully, they get it done today for everybody, all right? Again, friendly reminder, on Twitter, we have set up a GoFundMe, okay? There's a post there. There's a link. I thank all the groups out there and all the individuals that have been sharing it, retweeting it, and donating. We hit the first goal in a matter of 6 hours. We've increased the goal. We are almost there. This is going to go a long way to help our friend Farhan at 80ath from Twitter, a Juventino, longtime supporter of the AJCs. And our thoughts and prayers are with them during this tough time contracting a rare disease. We're doing our part, and the Juve community, the AJC army, has shown how truly amazing we are and how strong we have come together in doing this. So big thank you to everyone who has shared the post and donated. Okay, it all goes a long way and it means a lot. You guys, it makes me emotional to see that much support out there. It's fantastic and a testament to the community that we're all a part of and that we have all built together. So yeah, props to all of you on that one. Now, go through your pregame rituals, do whatever you got to do, okay? And we will most likely, like I said, it's in the talks, but we'll most likely reconvene for that live watch along. Luca, always a pleasure, okay? Next time we expect a nice little ditty on the keyboard there, okay? I know. Don't roll your eyes, man. Just do it.
I didn't say
you did it for the chat. You played. We didn't start the fire for the chat.
I don't know what you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Guys, he's got
Give that kid
so many
away.
more
That's all we
skills
want.
in the bag that hasn't even let out this guy, okay? Wait till
Save him
you
for
hear
the-
him sing, okay? Anyways, we'll see you all later. Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Let's hope that they crush Milan today, okay? Ciao tutti, and thank you again for being amazing as always, live chat.